We're good. We're
Okay.
live.
All right, this is exam 3, final exam. I'm Sean Pollock.
Eric Stramsky.
Corey Long.
Dylan Gratska.
Brandon Olszewski.
And Hannah Dialis.
All right. Throughout this third portion of the semester, we have been reading and talking about a conversation between atheism, nihilism, Christianity/Catholicism, especially with regards to the moral foundations and role of the state within pluralistic society. Pluralistic secular society presupposes radically differing views of the world. An example, visions of order, good and evil, horror and beauty. These competing visions of the world collide with one another and threaten the unity of human communities and the state, especially when incommensurable visions of the world are reified in the form of law. Explain the importance or unimportance of faith and reason, pistis and logos, in negotiating the radical differences of worldviews in a pluralistic society.
Who's taking off?
All right. Well, I personally think you need faith and reason in the world because without it, I think it'd just be like total chaos. I think the moral values that a religion would teach you kind of give you like the groundwork. Like even if you're not religious, most people grew up in different households, and the people, even if you're not religious, at some point they grew up religious. I would pretty much assume, and they just pass those same morals, even if they don't pass the religion on.
You just want to make sure that it doesn't get into the extremes of not having a religion or getting to the radical version of having a religion where people are persecuting for having differences.
I would say it's important because it's almost like finding a common middle ground, like having like the best of both worlds. Like for instance, in life you need reason, you need to be able to critically think and discuss things and have a concept of your own for what goes on and what doesn't. But at the same point, if you do that, you could drive yourself insane. Like you become pessimistic, you could become this. You could be like, oh, there's no point to life, this and that. So you do need your faith to be involved as well, to keep you almost like straightforward, to keep you in like the right state of mind, going, all right, well, there is still positivity in the world, like stuff like that.
I think if we're living in like a reason-based world only, we'd be living in like a science-based world, which would be, I can't remember what the name of the book is for some reason right now, the one that we read in here where they brainwash the people.
With like the sodium.
With the sodium, I think it would, the Thanatos syndrome, I think that's what one of the implications would be of living in a reason-based only world, is that people would only think scientifically to solve problems. They wouldn't think, okay, well, these people are doing this for this reason. Well, we got to think that, okay, well, maybe we can't see something going wrong with them. There is something maybe deeper,
that's
like a deeper
issue.
Me and Corey were talking how because we went over what pistis and logos is, and it said pistis is trust and reliability, and whenever people are explaining their differences, we need to think about how reliable they are, and we can trust them even though and trust what they're saying even though we don't agree on it. It's just one of those things that you need faith in different discussions, I think.
So Chesterton says that reason itself is a matter of belief or faith. So do you believe that this act of faith asserts that our thoughts have any relation to reality at all? Do you think they go hand in hand, or do you think can you have one without the other in society?
I mean, I think you should have, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's one of those.
I think there's implications to having only one of both in each society, but I think you really need to find.
But how do you have just faith? What would just faith be?
Just faith.
Strictly, wouldn't that be
That'd be
strictly
blindly following things. For instance, honestly, I think there are people in this world today that almost do that. They blindly follow a faith. So let's say, obviously it's not all cases, it's rare cases, it's very it's extreme, but there are definitely religious people out there, maybe Catholics, other people that go, well, the Bible says this, and the Bible says this. I don't care what you said or what not. The Bible said this, so you're wrong, and
Or
this is what I have to do.
Amish people.
Mm.
I kind of think of that sometimes. They have all these resources and they don't use them.
No, that is a good
And,
example. They are an extreme of faith. They're oh, well, we don't know. The electricity is the devil.
Yeah.
We don't need this. And it's dude, reason. Everybody uses electricity. We're still around right now. We're doing fine. you know how much easier your life could be. You wouldn't have to walk around carrying your buckets of water all the time, and
You
like,
could have a peaceful society like that too, or you could have like something like the radical Islamic extremists.
Yeah.
that is true. 'Cause
That's where they just follow blindly and they're just
there's
killing
like,
everybody that doesn't
mhm,
agree with them. So I think you could have something like the Amish, or
the two
have
versions when they die. Yeah.
so.
That is, yeah, oh yeah, that's actually really interesting. I don't know why I didn't think of the, like what you just said with, like Islamic and stuff like that. That's a good example of like extremism. You're murdering people in the name of God. Like, how does that make any sense?
Yeah.
Like, that's you're blindly following something without looking a little deeper into it. Because there are plenty of people who follow the exact same religion as like ISIS, Al Qaeda, stuff like that, and they just sort of go, well, that's probably not supposed to be taken as literal as you're taking it right now. So why don't we just exclude that from our actual practices?
Yeah.
But not people that can't reason won't do that, and that's a good example of it. What about with just reason though? Are there people in the world who have zero faith in all reason? They're
Yeah.
the scientists.
So there's like
Certain scientists, I would say, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, not
I
all
think-
scientists.
yeah,
I mean,
right. Like I think if you're like an extreme case would be like a scientist that just like believes we're robots and we
Which
should
is
do
biochemical
we should
processes.
just do everything just so we're not like whatever's best for us. Like
Survival of the fittest type
survival
thing.
of the fittest. Like doesn't matter if you're like going through pain. We'll just dope them up. Like stuff like that. That's just like in a medical example, but
It's always like an external fix for things.
yeah, for what you're feeling.
Do you think today's world we're getting closer to a pluralistic society compared to the older days?
I do believe
100%.
because well, this isn't religion. It goes hand in hand in religion. You have all these areas that people are just like the United States was founded off this, and it's been growing ever since. Like any religion can. You could go to Walmart and you could run into 10 different religious
Yeah,
Right.
views.
No one's fighting each
Yeah, 'cause,
other.
like,
you can make people are making new I forgot what it was called. I don't think it's Scientology, maybe it is, but there's like a religion that just it's like in 1950s, like it was around like the 1950s. It's only been around for like 50, 60 years, and it's like that's a perfect example. Like religion keeps coming, but like there's always people making different religions, and for the most part, like you're not getting killed or persecuted for it in most places. You're not getting killed or persecuted for your religious views, as opposed to like you go back to the Salem witch trials, like those kind of days, and you're getting slaughtered and murdered for just for being accused of being a witch, like being accused of not following the religion, not even like getting caught doing it. Just like somebody who's like, hey, I don't think that they're doing the religious stuff right. We should get rid of them. And they're like, yep, sounds about right. Your word against theirs. Well, you said it first. Oh, can't trust it.
Can they swim?
Yeah.
I think also like a pluralistic society is not just based off of your religion. Like so,
Yeah.
It's like we tolerate each other's beliefs even when we don't agree on them.
Yeah.
So like even like Democrats and Republicans, like yeah, I think this world today is like we tolerate other parties and other people's beliefs on even if we don't believe like if I believe in gay rights,
Yeah,
they
the
don't.
first- that's
Like
the first
we
thing.
just
Honestly though, I don't. Maybe it's just because we are getting better, but I definitely don't think a lot of people are completely tolerant of each other with certain things. Like there are still a lot of people out there that disagree with certain things. Like for instance, Donald Trump's a prime example of it. There are people like that literally won't be friends with you because you support a republic, because you support Donald Trump. Like my parents voted for him and everything, and they support him. And like I actually have like relatives like that literally like I'm added them on Facebook and won't talk to them anymore. And my parents, like I don't know if you met them, they're very nice, very open-minded people. They're not gonna yell at you about anything. Like they're the opposites of like closed-minded, like oh I don't like. But they're actually like people out there that won't be friends with them anymore because they have a different political view, because they voted for somebody different. In the grand schemes of things, made no difference in the political outcome. But maybe at the same point, like we just can't tell how far we've gotten because we weren't around 100 years ago to see how much
right.
worse
Like
people were.
that's just like one case.
Yeah.
But like I know like my best friend Kylie, like
Mhm.
she's Republican, and you know me,
Yeah.
like.
So that's
But like we're best friends, it just doesn't come up, and like we tolerate like what she
Yeah.
believes and I believe, and that's that. Like.
We're definitely getting better at it. It might just be older people like that.
Oh
still
yeah,
sort of-
it's
sort of stuck in it.
generational.
But like this generation, like younger, really are some of the most pluralistic people. Like they really are like, you can do this, you can do that. Like racism really isn't that vibrant anymore. Like gay and lesbian, like nobody really like goes against that anymore. Really, the only thing that is still a lot of people are disagreeing about might even be like transgenderism. But other than that, everything else, like
I don't even know if it's disagreeing, just putting like.
it's not. Yeah,
It's just like.
It's not even disagreeing as much as it is just telling people you can't do that to your 7-year-old because they don't know what they want yet, and you can't compete in sports because you're going to set world records. Other than that, though, yeah, it's really because a lot of people that you like even talk to like that talk about transgenderism and stuff, they usually say like I'm completely fine with you doing whatever you want to do. I'm not going to hate you for it. I'm not going to do this or that. But then they'll just bring up like a logical reason on why it's not working that well, or why there might be something we need to change for it, or this or that.
I think that's why. Oh no, go ahead.
You're fine. I was just gonna say, if there's complete toleration of everybody's beliefs, wouldn't there be a world without protest?
Oh yeah. 100%.
Where I think there's more protest than I don't want to say than ever. I don't know the history on it, but there's a lot of protest that goes on.
I think you can
In the
also
world
view
we live
people
in.
are allowed to protest
yeah,
more
you-
nowadays without being killed or feared of dying.
Yeah,
Well, I
But I
think that's
think
a
that-
far way back though. That type of punishment type of thing.
Still women's rights 100 years ago.
Yeah, like
Not just America, other countries. Can't really say
protests
much of
still
the
happen
beliefs.
in different countries.
Did you hear about there was
Like Egypt.
I was just about to say the Egyptian Revolution, like 2012, I think it was. They like had social media, and they actually got like over 1 million people. They like made Facebook pages, and they like got it through all this, and they actually got like over 1 million people up at Tahrir Square, I think it was called, and like they were all protesting there for weeks. And actually, for the first like 3 or 4 days, like when the government knew that they were all about to protest and meet up, they shut down their entire internet for I think 3 days, which you don't have like that's billions of dollars in like money they're losing by not communicating with anybody. But they shut it down because they were like, we don't want more people coming here, and it didn't work at all. People just kept coming. People kept protesting.
Sometimes like I guess I would say now, like almost all the time when we are explaining like our differences and stuff, like we obviously we don't realize it, but we always are thinking of like faith and reason and how we're explaining like how reliable we are and like what like is our principal reason of like why we're saying this and stuff like that. So like I think it is important in when we're negotiating our differences.
you can only reason so far.
Yeah.
It's just like, okay, you can tell me all this stuff, but I need to.
Like, you
someone
need
needs
to
to take a
feel it.
leap of faith.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I'm gonna let you watch my house. Something simple like watch my house for the weekend.
And then we'll
Yeah.
see
Should I
if you really
trust
are.
you?
Yeah, if I really can. Like you're telling me all this, but like.
Yeah, and then okay, well, you seem like where you come from, based on what I've gathered, I can have faith that you won't do anything wrong in the house. And so I think it plays like you said, a part in everybody's everyday life for the most part.
Want to move on to the next one?
Yeah.
What is the human person, and should he or she be afforded universal, inalienable rights that ought not to be violated?
Affordable universe. I hope I can get an affordable universe.
Yeah, obviously everyone should have like similar rights of not being able to own another human, as in a basic human right, or allowing them to, I don't know, get their own food, be alive, be human, or even just the own human right of just not being able to kill each other unless a certain reason.
I'm starting with the what is the human person. I forget if it was this class or if it was the last class I took with Mr. Wachs. Somehow we got into like the human person and yourself, and it said like when we talked about the human person, like that's your meaning of who, like the human person. Like each of us, like we can have a definition of the human person, but like you should have your own definition of the human person yourself. Like everyone's definition of the human person isn't the same. Obviously, like scientifically, like yeah, we can look that up, but in general, like it's your meaning of what
Yes.
you are, what each person is.
Yeah, it's like what you built up. It's like your own virtues and opinions.
I think your morals kind of play into that. What you consider a person is like, okay, you're looking at kind of if they believe in the same thing as you do, or if it's like too extreme that you think like, okay, how could they murder someone just like that? Well, are they a person if they can do something like that?
Yeah.
You know?
By universal inalienable rights, does that mean like
This is what I said too.
yeah, so does that mean like
That means like
anything?
anything.
Oh no, I disagree.
Yeah,
Right. That's
that's-
exactly what we said.
My point.
Like if you were given any right, if you were given the ability to have any rights you wanted to whatsoever,
And not be violent.
I just wrote a paper about this, like talking about the state of nature, like Thomas Hobbes talks about it. If you have all rights and there's no thing stopping you from doing anything ever, you are going to develop into a state of nature where you don't have morals, you don't have ethics, you literally kill or be killed. You do what you want, and you have no trust. You can't trust
Yeah, I said
anybody
it
around
just
you.
causes violence.
It causes violence, chaos, because you have no hierarchy protecting you, and you have no bigger picture that's going to be like, hey, you can't do this. Why can't you do this? Well, us and the rest of society are going to come after you if you do this, so don't do it. And that right there is what helps us stay in peace and stay in a civilized. That's what's helped us get this far. Or look at dogs. Dogs don't build houses because like all sorts of animals. Animals don't have that civilization because they are still in that state of nature. They don't have any morals. They don't have any ethics. I mean, that could be argued because of their intelligence, but that's not where I was getting at.
Yeah,
It's just
I
comparing
think
it.
you can't have it because literally the only thing that puts you like that makes you safe is just your own military power, your own like power to defend yourself. If there's no rights, or if there's no universal rights, it's just you versus another person, like you said.
Okay, this is kind of off topic, but like, has there ever been a movie where there is no laws, like in a society? I feel like we hear
No
about
what?
it, no laws.
They do that like that Purge movie where they don't.
Is
have
that-
laws.
But that's
They
once
do
a
it
year
for-
though.
That's only once a year.
Yeah.
For like, what is it? Is it 24 hours?
Yeah.
Like I feel like this is such like a common question. Like, what would the world be like without laws? Or
I think they slowly just create laws over time though.
I don't know.
People would just click together, make their own little tiny
Yeah, no,
communities.
that's what would happen. People would be like, well, in this area, we don't tolerate rape. And then you go to some other area and they're like, oh, no, it's cool. Come on, bro. Come on. But you can't eat cucumbers. We don't like cucumbers. Like, it could be
I
anything.
feel like that's what like ancient humans
Humans were.
Yeah, like cavemen and stuff. Like they just ran around, they got their food, they survived day to day. If they didn't like how you felt about something, they killed you.
Or they got killed.
Or they
People that
got
have the
killed.
most power or persuasion, honestly, to like convince the rest of the crowd what they're doing is right is who would ultimately come into power, and I think they would make the laws. So I think it all stems back to power. Is whoever has the most people with them and can convince the most people that they're right. In a world without laws, that would prevail. I think.
With intelligence comes the need for laws because we can see that we all obviously have much better lives because there are laws. Granted, not every law is good, not every law is needed, not every law is going to save us, but having the laws just being there, having there be things that you can't do.
Yeah, like we're not gonna agree with every law,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
obviously, like some of them
There are
are.
a good amount. Like, I don't think anybody says murder should be legal. Nobody's like, hey, I think you should be allowed to kill people if they piss you off. No, it's not allowed. You can't take that back. There shouldn't be something that you should be allowed to do. I think really the biggest ones is just theft and murder. Those are really, besides those two, there aren't many other harmful things that we should legalize. But it's a different topic. That was me talking about I was starting to think about my paper I wrote this evening. Because we were talking about the state of nature and how we didn't have laws back then, and how I was talking about how a lot of new laws nowadays aren't really I'm not even
I
talking
think
about this.
Chesterton kind of touches on if there were no laws, that anarchy would take over.
Mhm.
But the anarchy.
Yeah.
Anarchy, you still have that one dictator rolling out fear.
Yeah, so the people are
Like there'll
No,
always be
I
this.
do what I want to do when I want to do.
Yeah.
You're not going to stop me because the laws that you made up, I don't agree with them. They don't pertain to me. So
I feel like there will always be that one person that's like, nope, I'm in charge.
Mhm.
Like and get themselves famous
And
for it and
too many people have like motivation to just like a drive for power. Too many people, like, it's in human nature to want to be better. It's in human nature to want to be better than everybody around you and be the strongest link. So if that's the case, somebody's gonna do that. Like somebody's gonna come up and be like, hey, I know there's no laws right now, but we need to make one so that we can. Actually, this is a prime example of it. It was a Rick and Morty episode, and they had like they were doing a fake. It was like a purge. They went to a planet where there was a purge, and literally like they go there, and like the whole episode is about the purge and all this stuff, and then at the end of the episode, like they killed all the big people, like the top 1% that was in power. You know, like how they got to stay and nothing would happen to them, and they killed them, and then the regular townspeople were like, oh well, what do we do now? And the guy was like, oh well, there's no laws, we can just do whatever. And he was like, well, how do we get food? And he was like, well, all right, well, how about you make food, and you just get food for everybody? He's like, well, why would I make food for everybody? He was like, we'll give you a little bit of extra clothing or places to live if you make food for everybody. And they're like, huh, okay. And somebody else is like, well, how are we gonna know who's in charge? And it's like, well, Tim over there, you'll make T-shirts for the guys that are in charge. And they literally built up a democracy, like a
it's
government,
just natural.
literally like from that. It just happens. People are like, well, we need to
it
do
needs
this.
to happen.
Yeah, then the ending, they just all started killing each other.
They went right back to the way they were.
Yeah, they went right back because they didn't have a
They
stable.
didn't know how to lead.
They didn't know how to
So
lead or
this
have a
is- it
stable
wouldn't
form of
happen
government.
like that in
Right,
regular
it's just a
society,
cycle, like-
you know?
So I think cycle, no matter what would happen to us, we'd get back up.
Anyone have anything else on this question? Alright. If society no longer recognizes a transcendental source of values and moral authority, how can society prevent a capricious majority from violently imposing order?
I have to call you out.
The way I looked at it is kind of it's like you could argue it's kind of radical, but I think we do it to a sense. I think if there's a group doing that, we restrain them or we eliminate them personally. Like if you have like neo-Nazis like acting out, what does the government do? They suppress them by killing them or putting them in jail. I think with like any type of
So you're saying we can't prevent it?
oh shoot, I'm looking at minority. I'm thinking of minority. Alright, might have to scratch what I just said. I read it wrong.
So basically,
I mean, I think too. Go ahead.
I was just gonna restate the question again.
Okay.
Yeah, do that.
I was thinking that, like, because it says how can society prevent a what's that word?
Capricious.
What's that mean?
Sudden change.
Okay. From violently imposing order.
He's got it.
I had it
Googled right
Googled, I didn't know what that word was.
But like if another majority of people are violently imposing order, I think the only way to prevent it is going back with violence, don't you think?
Yeah, so I
Join 'em.
don't take back what I said.
No, maybe.
It's funny as like
is
this-
it easier to join them or leave them? Kind of like.
I feel like
I'm confused. Are we?
It's like a society as a whole. If we stop
What is
believing
this-
values as
what is
moral,
this
what's going to
source of
happen? What
value?
stops us from being violent? It's like what we just talked about, but like, how do we stop that? How do we stop each other from killing each other?
How would we stop each
Right?
other?
Because like, if a society no longer recognizes,
Oh,
Coming
it's
up
wait. It's
violently.
saying
I
if
see.
society. Okay, no. It's saying like if society no longer recognizes like laws and stuff. Like if we no
Yes,
longer have
morals
our
and
laws
values.
if we
laws,
flip what we just talked about, how do we
Then-
stop that from happening?
yeah. How do we
we-
stop a bunch of people from going crazy? And
Mhm.
well, you don't. You
Without that?
Without laws, you can't.
Yeah, how would you stop
Oh.
it from being
without laws,
violent?
you
They're
won't-
gonna be violent.
you wouldn't
Yeah.
be able to stop. I mean, the best way would be reasoning with them. Would be like, hey, dude, you shouldn't do that. Why shouldn't I do that? Well, I mean, like nobody else wants you to do that. Like it wouldn't be cool. Like everybody, like eventually it's not gonna work out. Somebody's gonna want to stop you. Like you shouldn't do that.
What if it happened to you?
You'd be like, hey, bro, you shouldn't do that. And I mean, like I'd fight for my
He'd
life.
probably stab
but,
you,
yeah,
if you
I'd
say that to
probably
him.
die. But
Yeah.
the best way to fight love is with hate. I mean, the best way to fight hate is with love. So I don't know how.
Just hug them all while they're trying to shoot each
Yeah,
other.
just hug them to death.
Couldn't you, to avoid the violence too, just give in to what they're
Submit,
saying?
yeah.
You could be
You
a sheep.
could submit, yeah, and then just wait till they
That's
go
just thinking that you believe in what they're saying.
and go,
Like,
hey.
what if you
Or just blindly following.
what if you like definitely 100% like disagree with everything that everyone else is saying?
People know it's
I think you
Yes,
go
you
off
can
on your
lie.
own.
Make it
You
do
seclude
anything
yourself from the rest of society.
and become depressed.
I think it's like, do you value your life? Do you value your life in that, or like?
What, yeah, at
So
that
we're
point,
just
what
talking
is-
about surviving at that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I think.
Maybe we could, honestly, the only way to prevent it would be by fighting it back with with new morals and values everybody has to follow. So the only way to fight it would be to make a stronger, bigger government.
Kind of like splitting it down the middle, I think.
Yeah. It's like, all right, well, if you guys want to be on that side,
Yeah, you know what I mean?
you know what? Well, we're going to get our guys, we're going to go over on this side, and we're going to see how, maybe that's how
Is that
society
the only
started.
way to
I was
prevent
just about
it?
to say,
Like, is that how
Democrats
society-
and Republicans.
Yeah, it's like
That's
that
why we
how
have like the
society
two
Yeah.
sides of the
Yeah.
society, basically.
Well, yeah, Democrats
First thing I thought about
Republicans
was
are,
It'll calm down one day.
and they switch their views all the time. Like they just like over the past country, like literally, I think almost topic. Yeah.
Yeah. Are morals merely subjective opinion / taste, or by what standards can moral action be communally agreed upon?
I have no idea what I'm saying.
So, I wrote my essay on Ted Bundy, and I actually found a specific quote
Ooh.
on him where he says that he believes morals are subjective. Like it's directly what it states, that he believes morals are subjective, and that you can believe what you want to believe, and as long as you believe it and act it out, you're okay. That's kind of what. And I mean, if that's a prime example, if morals are subjective, I mean, he killed he killed numerous people that didn't really deserve to die because he just figured, okay, well, I'm addicted to like the sexual acts, and pornography is actually what he was addicted to. But he would say like, okay, I'm just appeasing myself and my desires, so what's wrong with that?
Yeah, I was gonna say like if somebody's like morals really are just opinions or tastes. Like some people could have like as long like obviously murder could be something different because
Yeah, like, did he
nobody
have
should be
morals?
okay.
Did
Nobody
he
should be
have-
okay with
He
murder.
said he has morals, but they're subjective.
Yeah. Like he,
It's
So like,
It's like, for instance, if I was 50 years old and there was an 18-year-old girl, I can have sex with her if I want to. And it's like, for me, if my morals say, dude, there's nothing against the law against it, I wouldn't mind if my 18-year-old daughter was having sex with a 50-year-old. That wouldn't bother me. There's nothing wrong with him doing that in his own mind.
so, because like I'm thinking of what standards can moral action be communally agreed upon. So would he?
Prevention of harm.
What?
Wait, what is it?
By what standards can moral action be communally agreed upon?
Yeah, no, yeah.
I don't get
right.
it. I was thinking like,
It's something we
What-
all agree upon for our morals. Like, even though we're all subjective, we're all gonna have one
Like,
common
with a
place.
general idea, don't harm people. That's
Yeah.
a
no,
moral.
no. I'm saying though, like if you're Ted Bundy, your community is people who murder people.
Mhm.
That's where you will have people agree with you. So it's like what community you're in, right? Like is that what?
Oh, I see what
Oh,
you're
I
saying.
So, like-
that makes sense, but I think like as like a
As the question is kind of asking us, like, what general like standards do we have to hold to make it to where all morals like will apply to that? Like, don't harm people. You're not gonna like everybody can pretty much agree like you don't want to harm people because if you reverse that onto yourself, nobody wants harm
See,
onto themselves.
I mean, the way I look at it is like, there's people out there like Ted Bundy that would want to harm people. So I think the way that you make like your morals communal is you see what the majority wants and you force it upon everyone. And if people don't conform, well,
Well, we were talking
There's-
about how we get our morals. So he said how where we grow or how we're raised,
yeah.
some of our morals deal with religion if we're religious, and some people's morals aren't there because their brain is different, their brain matter is different, like psychotic people or whatever. So, like, I guess, like, when I'm saying, like, communally agreed upon, like, when you're in a church,
You're in a community.
that you all agree upon on some morals. So, like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it depends on like what community you're in at the exact like time that something's happening. So like, okay, I'm in church at one point. You have different morals than you, not necessarily different morals, but
So, like, the standards are
the
where
group
you
belief
are.
is a little different than what it is at like just at a rock concert or
Right,
something.
yeah.
You know what I mean? So I know
Or,
what
like,
you're saying.
Even, like, school districts. Like, you're like, oh, you grew up in Upper St. Clair, and then, like, they were, like, I don't know if you guys are from around here. Is anyone from around here? Yeah? Upper St. Clair, you know? And they're all, like, preppy, and,
They're
like,
rich.
you know, they have their, like,
Rich pricks.
their views, and almost all of their views are the same.
Yeah.
Compared to, like, Stowe Rocks or McKeesport High School, where it's very open and, you know, like, it just depends on where, it depends on where you are.
Does it bring about like the whole like idea of meaningful and meaningless though? Like to one school district, the things that they are. So all these things, people just want to get by in the communities. Mainly, they just want to get through things. They all experience some common like issues, but some take more precedence in a community than versus others. So like, I don't want to say. I guess like maybe drug dealing in like a lesser community is
Yes.
not seen as like
Not at all.
Awful.
Yeah. No, that's
yeah,
actually that's a
but you
perfect
go to Upper
example.
St.
Yeah,
Clair and
but-
you have someone selling drugs or something.
No,
it's
They
like,
getting
You
it.
go to-
Well,
you go to-
they're getting
Yeah.
everything.
You go to Upper St. Clair, and that's like people will call the cops on you probably for if they see somebody smoking weed in a car. And
Yeah.
like you go to other places, somebody sees somebody smoking weed in a car, they go and jump in and join them. Like they're like, you know what I mean? Like
so
they're
it's
just
like
completely
certain things are
different.
meaningful to one community while others are meaningless to the other.
Yeah.
I think that's where like your morals also kind of like
That is good.
come from.
That
Because
just, I think some of the times, like, those higher up, their, like, meaningfulness goes a little too far.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like,
They blow it out of proportion.
yeah.
Yeah.
Compared to others.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Next question.
To what degree do the answers to the previous questions depend upon whether reality is at its heart absurd or ordered?
Okay, so when me and Corey were talking about this, we were saying, like, when reality is, like, reality and when it's out of control. Like, when chaos happens, and we said, like, some of our answers to the previous questions, like, they would change because, like, we were thinking of survival of the fittest. Whenever it's chaos, like, that's all you think of. Like, you don't care if you have to kill someone or take someone's food or, you know what I mean? But other times when we're answering that, we're like, no, we would never kill someone and we would never, like, steal someone's stuff.
But it's like if you
But it's
got-
different when it's chaos.
when you're put in that position. It's
Right.
like, would you kill somebody if like, like you know, like I would never kill somebody, but then it's like somebody has a gun pointed to your parent's head, like you're probably gonna kill somebody. Like you would think you never would, but it's all
You
about.
just have, I think
the
everyone has
external-
that instinct, like, okay, like, survival mode, let's go.
I think the external environment really, like environmental settings, really changes your morals and your views and all this and that. Like if we lived in a world where we died, like I don't know, not if we died, but like if there was like horrible like natural disaster that nobody could really guess or know when was gonna happen, and like it was very common for like families to die and people to get wiped out all the time. People are less likely to have those strong of morals because they're like, well, you know, like I might die before I'm 20. Like I'm not too worried about living a long, good life. I'm just going to do what I want to do for these next however many years.
Yeah, honestly, I would argue that it's like ordered absurdness, if that's like even a thing. Because as soon as the order goes out, it all just turns into a huge free for all. But luckily, we live in a society that's ordered enough, so everyone, it's fine right now. But I think, like, for example, like us six in the room, if it was like a complete different situation, who knows how we would act? Like, I don't know.
Environmental settings really do change everything. So I'd say to what degree?
I think it would really change, like, between whether we're looking at order or chaos. It would really change, like, the whole how we would approach violence
Right.
and how we would approach like the laws not being present in society.
Violence could be seen as an act of like thinking ahead too. It's like, well, I really don't trust this person. They're acting weird. I'm gonna sneak into their house and kill them in the middle of the night so they don't do it to me first. Like,
Also, I think it changed. Okay, so it's like in chaos, all these people. It's basically a revolution. There's chaos, you know. But doesn't that chaos have to come into some kind of order for them to make those laws? Like if there was, I think it would change. Like, okay, so we can stop the violence not by just running away from it. We can stop it by reasoning with people and talking. Okay, there's order to this. We all, you need to make the food. You need to. We have this group of people that's protecting from outsiders or something like that.
you guys are gonna be making the food.
I think
You
the only
guys,
way.
because nobody can do everything at once, but like it's much easier for groups of people to do one thing at once.
Right, like when I think you could say like chaos is ordered whenever you have groups of people.
Yeah.
That's
Like
what.
you're
That makes sense.
It's chaos, but you're trying to get out of it. You're trying to order yourself into it. Like you like
not even get out of it, just survive it.
like TV shows would be a good example. Like Walking Dead. Like
Yeah, I was
like
thinking
that's
that
What I was
too.
thinking of.
Yeah,
Exactly what I was thinking of. when I said
that's
this.
like ordered chaos. It's like they got knocked back to like there's no laws. Like nobody's gonna say, hey, you can't murder people. Like that's not true. It's like anybody's gonna do whatever they want. There's zombies walking around. Like they can.
And like that's your like people that you trust.
And you can
And,
see like
like-
as they go through different like seasons, like they find different groups of people who live together.
It's like the
And
battle.
some of the
higher power.
I think one of the groups, I don't remember this very well, but one of them like they were all cannibals, and they would bring people in and like kill, like they'd pretend to be nice to them, and they'd kill them
Yeah.
and eat them, and it's like that's like and to all of them they're like, dude, we need food. And it's like this is completely okay for me. It's completely okay for me. You guys all want to eat tonight, right? Yeah. All right, cool. We're gonna kill them.
That's fine.
What did you have that written down?
No, it says dupe till you puke. Anyway.
This one says someone's a whore, so.
This
I
one
was gonna
says.
say her name. I was like,
This one says Marlon naked in here, so I guess something happened in here.
Alright.
Any other degrees to the answers?
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Anyone?
No.
No.
This one's fart. This
Okay.
just says
Yo,
fart.
relax.
Building upon the discussion, discuss the visions offered within the Mad Night of Atonement, Inc., and the Man Who Was Thursday. Specifically, how do each of these cultural artifacts function as answers to the above questions?
Are you gonna start with ink?
Sure.
Yeah. So ink. I personally think.
Creepy.
Yeah. It's a really weird movie, but I
A lot
kind
of
of liked
moving
it.
around.
That dealt with like people that gave good dreams and like good unconscious or good subconscious things, and then people that did bad subconscious things. What is this question?
This is hard.
So,
It,
well, Ink would argue that morals aren't subjective opinions. They're things that we can't control. They're things that are just put
Driven
in-
into us.
Yeah,
you know,
driven into us because
and it's like if you go against it, you're gonna suffer it. Like if you're gonna realize that you made a mistake. But if you don't go against it, you won't. Like you'll be like, yeah, I know this was right. This was something I was supposed to do.
In Ink, I remember one of the guys, the Pathfinder, I think the guy with
Yeah.
axes across his
Yeah.
head.
That's what-
He said that there's the way that he sees things is that there's a tune to the world, and
Yeah.
everybody's just following it. I think that I had something in my head before.
yeah, I mean, it's the three people that like control everything. Like there's three types of weird people, like the
The drifters,
the drifter and all
Yeah,
that. So
people-
reality is ordered.
And that's kind of how society is. Like in
Yeah.
society, there's neutral people, positive people, and negative people. Like that's how. What?
I'm just trying to think of like, never mind. I was thinking like, how does like ink serve like show us like morals and stuff like that? So like, I think that goes into like when he starts to not have a good relationship with his daughter and like certain things change with him and like I don't know. I feel like that's has to do with his morals. I don't know.
Because once his
Stupid.
morals change, like everything goes back to being good.
Yeah, I think we
Right.
talked
Yes.
about it in class, but I think it goes through like a stage of redemption,
Mm-hmm.
where I think in redemption your morals do have to change for redemption to occur. I think that because like okay, if you're that bad of a person, you're doing all these bad things, your morals have to. You're not just doing it just because, unless you're blindly following someone like a sheep. You're not just doing things just because. I keep getting these things.
40 minutes. Is it?
Someone
I
else
can't
can
remember. Is
jump
it supposed to be 50 minutes or an hour? 50. Oh, okay. So
But, like-
we're in a good spot then.
What we're talking about, so his wife dies, and then he becomes like a big alcoholic and drug user, and then he just like gets so much focus into his work that he stops caring about his daughter.
He loses custody of her.
Yeah, he lost custody of her, so he pretty much realized, well, for a short period, he thought, whatever, like he's still making that huge business deal that he wanted to make, but then he gets in an accident, and that's when he like that was like the point of redemption for him, and that's when he could almost like change his life around, and then at the end it shows like him finally in his daughter's life, and he had the opportunity to make that business deal and decided to spend it with his daughter, stuff like that.
So like when he had his morals, I guess you could say, that's when it wasn't chaotic. It was his life was in order.
Yeah.
And like I feel like that's with almost everyone. Like when you have your good morals and set morals, and not just here saying it with this group and saying it with this group of people you're with, and like you know what I mean. Like you're like living normally, and like you're not as stressed about what everyone else thinks, and
Order brings like
comfort.
peacefulness to your mind. And
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Makes sense.
Moving on to the Mad Night of Atonement, what do you think about
Ooh.
morals with a puppet master?
I just did my paper on like gene splicing and genetic
Engineering?
yes, nah, kind of, yeah.
Designer babies.
Yeah. Okay, so like basically we were talking I was talking about how like some people want to play God. They want to make these babies and like make them to be perfect, or not even perfect, just how they want them to be, and they want to play God. Meanwhile, like, because during the whole time, like, it's just that they wanted to be created perfectly too, and like they wish that was with them. It's kind of like this, how like he was saying, not he was saying, but like the whole puppet show thing, like how we say it's like a puppet, and then he also was one, because he like. I don't know, it made sense to me when I said it in my head.
Yeah, like
that
he
makes
just
sense.
wanted to be the puppet master. Like when you're like, think of like when you're like poor. Like what does every poor person want? They want to get rich. They want to be that rich person. But then when you get to the top, you have
keep
all the
wanting to be-
cars, you have everything. You're like, what else is there left? Like, like I have all these material things, but at the end of the day, it's like
Their life
it's your
happy.
morals that really make you happy. I feel like.
That's a good example. It's like the glass ceiling analogy. It's like, let's say if you have nothing in your life but your wife and your kids, and you have nothing else, like your ceiling's only so high, and you're always going to be at the top of that ceiling. You're always going to be super happy. You say you get like a nice job and now like a new car and all this and that. You're happier. You have more stuff, but now you have this much more to lose. you have this much more to make you less happy. It's much harder to stay at that top of the glass ceiling. The more you get, the more that ceiling rises, the more you have to fall and drop. Like the more difficult it is to stay happy and stay consistent because you want to keep getting happier. You want to stay motivated. You want to have you want to keep doing better things, but there's only so far you can go before it's like, dude, you've done everything. Like you've done it all. Like you've got a lot done for you. Like Robin Williams, like he killed himself a couple of years ago, and it's like he had everything, but he had done everything. You know, like that's why he was so depressed. He had so much stuff, this and that.
Or Kate Spade.
Yeah, like they say, depression is a first world problem. Like suicide and depression, it's like a rich person problem. It's because you don't have the right morals in mind. You have like, I want this stuff. This is gonna make me happy. And then you get it, and you're like, oh, now this is gonna make me happy. And then you get that, and it's like you're constantly chasing this happiness that you've had all along. All you're doing is making it harder to find. You're just chasing it around, making it further away.
I love that their names were the days of the week.
Yeah.
I thought that was awesome. I don't know why. Why, like, it was the
The
Book
right-
of Job. Did you, like,
Yeah.
or what did we say it was?
No, just
Yeah,
the
it was
book of Job,
The Book of Job,
Yeah.
and, like, they were each a day.
Yeah.
I thought that was insane. But the book, like, it talks about, it's mostly about anarchy, right?
Yeah, that's the Man Who Was Thursday.
I thought it was funny. I just
Are we, what are we on?
We were still
But not
talking
we were
about
talking about
atonement.
Yeah,
Oh
we were-
my,
Yeah.
okay, my bad.
Yeah, we can transition if you're ready for Annual Thursday.
Yeah.
I mean, oh, shoot, I'm sorry, guys.
No,
Oh, you're good.
I was done. That's all I was saying.
Yeah.
I thought the man was dude. It was so. I remember when I first looked at the book, I was like, "What is this going to be about?" The man who is third, like, was he a day? And then I wrote his name. Day.
I thought it was a typo.
Yeah. And then I thought it was funny when that was funny how he goes down to like be like to join it as like an undercover cop,
sorry.
to like join
Oh my
the.
god, it's. I thought a pop-up showed up.
It's like a murder group.
It's my number groups.
But yeah, like I thought it was just funny how like the people in the council were like all supposed to be like the evil like anarchists and like all this stuff and like
They were spies.
yeah, they were all spies. Like they
They
like,
all were.
they were all like they were the leaders of like the anarchists, and it's like just kidding, and no, we're not. Like that was definitely a loop.
I could say, going back to question A with the radical difference, maybe radical groups nowadays have someone who's secretly in there as a spy leading them to do something else. You know what I'm saying?
Pushing them in their
Pushing them in their own way,
right,
being
yeah.
their puppet master.
And that's also how they prevented somebody else from imposing order on them. You know,
Mhm.
like,
Yeah.
If you have someone you can trust being their leader, you can make sure nothing overly crazy happens.
Yeah.
I don't know what else I was gonna say. Had to do with anarchy. But we were talking about how, like, when chaos is about, and there aren't any. That was awful. I'm so sorry. Morals or values, like, there always will be someone in power, and I think like you see that through this too. Like even like someone is always gonna be in power, even if it's a secret or like.
People are always going to need somebody to follow.
Yeah,
At one
there's
point,
always that one.
somebody's going to get broken down
Yeah.
enough to go, I don't know where to turn.
I think they're always in charge too
Yeah.
of them. Because even this person that is an actual person was still causing these people to do these things. Because I know, like you guys said, that everybody was a spy. Well, and I remember reading in that it was like Sunday's master plan that this would happen like
Yeah.
this. So like there's still someone that's always, even if you think you're the one that's on the inside doing,
There's
you're the
always
one that's
somebody
scoping it out as like the cop, but you're still being controlled by somebody.
else. You know, there always is somebody in power, whether like somebody's going to be followed. Like whether we want somebody to be in power or not, like people are going to conform to liking somebody, like a specific person over somebody else. Then like you get 10 people together all talking about this one dude. It's like, yeah, no, I think he's smart. Yeah, I think he's smart. Yeah, we all think he's smart. Yeah. Generally, when he says something is right, like, yeah, we're going to agree with him. And it's like, without him even trying or knowing, he's a leader. He has power now. He has power over 10 other able beings. So.
I don't know what to say.
I'm good.
Yeah,
Good.
good. Done? Cool.
Final exam.
This is Eric Yastrzemski signing out.
Bye, Wachs. Love
Thank you for coming to
you.
my TED Talk.
Yep.